We have here a GoPro Hero 10, an action camera just a few years old, and it's got a very common issue plaguing this model of camera. It powers on, but no camera output is displayed. It's also got a cracked screen, so I thought this would be a great opportunity to see if I could fix this common fault and see if GoPros are as hard to repair as I've read about online. I bought this one for half of what these cameras currently sell for on the used market. Just $100 US or 150 Australian, thinking it would pan out as a great deal if I could get it working again. But as you'll soon find out, this repair didn't go the way I was thinking it would. We do end up with a working GoPro, but not in the way I was expecting. The camera I received came without a battery or SD card. Batteries are not expensive, however before I spend money on a new battery, I want to see if I can fix it first. It will run without a battery if connected to a power supply with a high enough output, but I managed to borrow some batteries from a friend to make testing easier. Booting it up, we can see it's as described. There's no image from the camera sensor. Also, anytime I attempt to change any of the camera modes or settings, such as switching from video to time-lapse, adjusting the video resolution or stabilization settings, the unit crashes and reboots. It appears to be running the latest software currently available. I've been able to find people online dating years back that have experienced this exact issue. The proposed solutions vary, but most claim a factory reset using an SD card should do the trick. For this, I'll need a blank SD card on which I can create an empty text document called factory_reset.txt. When this SD card is detected by the GoPro, it will automatically reset the camera and wipe the SD card. We now get the GoPro logo before reaching the setup screen. GoPros require an app to complete setup, for some reason, but once paired, the camera is unlocked and ready to use. Except the camera still isn't working. I also tried updating the software manually, but there wasn't any change. This is clearly a hardware issue. So I purchased another GoPro Hero 10. This one water damaged and not turning on. I'm hoping to be able to salvage the display and camera module from it to make one working GoPro. I paid 60 Australian dollars or around 40 US for it. You can see the corrosion to the built-in mounting hardware, which makes me concerned as for the condition of the internals. Hopefully the camera and display are still in working condition. I threw a battery in because you just never know, it may still work. But it's not booting up. Connecting it to power, it's drawing practically nothing, which isn't a good sign. But that's okay because we only want to use it for parts anyway. Under the camera lens, you can see all of the rust to the visible screws. Judging by all the sand lodged around the display, I think salt water is our culprit. Although inside the battery compartment, it's not looking too bad. In researching the topic of GoPro repair, I found some unusual methods for display removal.
So the secret to your success is going to be a Dremel. Some people put it on a heating mat at 100 degrees for 15 to 20 minutes to loosen up the glue. I tried that, it didn't work. I was just there chipping away. All you need to do is be able to get under one little corner, and you'll be able to pry the whole screen off super simple.
It goes to show you just how difficult others have found removing the display. The method in which I will undertake will involve the use of a very sharp blade and a thin metal pry tool. Starting on the unit with the broken screen, I'll insert the blade between the rubberized edge of the screen and main body of the camera. By doing this, I'm trying to lever the display away from the case. You can see the bezel of the display is seated into a groove on the case. So unlike traditional methods of adhering a display to the surface, the adhesive is located in a groove, which a pry tool cannot access. I used some isopropyl alcohol in the hopes it would have some effect on the adhesive. Starting on the unit with the broken screen turned out to be the right decision, as the display continued to crack throughout its removal. This taught me something that would be vital in removing the other display without cracking its glass. Unlike a traditional display removal, say on a phone or tablet, once you manage to free one side of the display, it doesn't just continue to lift freely with ease. If you pry from one side, it'll just crack. The glass feels significantly weaker than that of a phone, while the glue is certainly tougher. Slowly, I worked around the perimeter until the display came off. Disconnecting its flex cables, we can see the channel I was talking about. For the second GoPro, I'll apply some IPA before beginning to pry, being sure not to apply so much as it can work its way into the backlight layers of the LCD. Unlike the previous unit, I also won't be prying back to front, as any prying motion tends to crack the display. Basically, all I'm doing is prying downwards and working in more IPA as I go. Once the display started to lift away from the case a millimeter or two, I could then pry it free. Success! With the screen disconnected, we can see some corrosion on the connectors. It's important this is cleaned off prior to testing, or we could damage the GoPro when it's connected. Using more isopropyl alcohol and a brush will take care of that. Back inside the parts GoPro, we can see rust and corrosion visible on other parts throughout the device. I'll continue disassembling the unit to extract the camera, by first dislodging the other half of the display's flex cable and the grounding strap from the battery compartment. Then there is 3 screws to remove that will allow us to dislodge the battery compartment, unplugging its single connector below. 2 further screws and the transparent cable retention piece can be lifted aside, revealing the camera flex cable below. Once detached, you'll find a screw buried below, along with 2 others at the top securing the camera in place. I'll repeat this process for the other GoPro, before we swap the cameras across and hopefully fix our camera issue. Both of the cameras look in good condition, with no liquid damage. The outer lens is adhered to the sensor, which has appeared to have prevented any liquid ingress. Installing the camera from the donor GoPro, we can get everything reassembled for a test. I'll also attach the replacement display at this point to see if it's functional. Take your bets now. Do you think this repair is going to work? Well, the GoPro powers up and the screen is working, but I'm still not getting any camera output. I sincerely hope the replacement camera module isn't also damaged. At a bit of a loss, I decided to turn my attention to the water damaged unit. If we could get it working, we could see if indeed the cameras are both broken or there's something else at fault with the other GoPro. There was some additional corrosion surrounding other connectors on the motherboard, so we'll get it removed for cleaning. With the board removed, we can see the corrosion is exclusive to the top side, although we'll clean both. Just using some IPA and a brush, I can scrub away any corrosion. This method works about 10% of the time. The less BGA chips the motherboard has, the higher the success rate. This is because corrosion can occur under BGA chips and not be seen. For other surface mount parts, they can be cleaned, which can remove shorts caused by minor corrosion damage. You want to look around all the connectors and any power sections of the board, as this is where it tends to accumulate. Once I've cleaned it to the best of my ability, I can use an air blower to dry the surface of IPA, which thankfully evaporates very easily. While I've worked on many small electronics before, because this action camera is so thick, it makes it much more difficult to work in, as many of the connectors and screws are recessed. However, despite this, there's still a few modular pieces you can replace. The button board at the top of the unit also needs a clean. There's a built-in battery here too, which has caused some corrosion of its own. With the corrosion gone, I can reassemble the water-damaged unit for a test. While assembling, I decided to swap the button board with the one from the other unit. After all, I might as well give this the best chance of working. I've forgotten which camera module came from which unit, so I'll only loosely attach it just in case I need to swap it. Once I've got the battery cage and display loosely attached, I can install the battery and try it out. I can't believe it. It's working, and so is the camera. Even the rear screen works. Before going any further, I want to swap the other camera in to see if both of the camera modules are working. And to my surprise, they are, which means our other GoPro has a major motherboard issue. If it's not the software and it's not the camera sensor, that only leaves the motherboard. So it appears the parts unit has now become the unit to repair. I checked both camera sensors for damage, but both are working perfectly with no visual defects. So I picked one and got it secured into the case. Next, I could re-adhere the grounding strip and install the battery cage, before some new adhesive can be applied to the flex cable. The worst part of the corrosion has occurred to this mount attachment. Not only will it no longer fold flat, but it's also so corroded the paint has come off most of it. So I just swapped it with the one from the other GoPro. And it looks like new again. You can see here the original display adhesive which has been left behind. We need to remove all of it, including from the groove on the back of the display, to ensure it sits flush when we glue it back down. I'll attach the LCD's connectors before applying some new adhesive. We ideally want to apply enough to get a small amount seep out of the sides, but not too much that it makes a mess inside the unit. Proceeding, the display can be pressed down into place and secured with rubber bands until the glue cures, after which the excess glue can be wiped away. With the original seal clearly not being completely watertight, my attempt can't be any worse. Although if you do try this yourself, I'd recommend using adhesive black in color. Failing that, a black permanent marker does the trick. Color in the adhesive and quickly wipe off the excess from the surrounding plastic and it will look like new. Now all that's left to do is install the battery and test it out. And we're done. So this is it, a GoPro repair that didn't quite go as I expected it to. The donor unit became the working unit, while the other remains unfixable. The most challenging part of the repair was certainly the display removal, but once inside, things like the charge port, record button, microphone and speaker can all be replaced. I can't speak for other models of GoPro, but reliability issues aside, repair is possible if you have the patience. And if you have or see one of these GoPros for sale with a no camera input, like the one I have here, avoid purchasing it as the issue is related to the motherboard and cannot be easily fixed with software or a camera sensor replacement. And on that note, this has been a Hugh Jeffries video. If you like what you saw, consider subscribing and check out the restoration playlist for more videos just like this one. And if you're looking for any used devices, be sure to check out my online store, link for which is down in the description. That's all for this video, and I'll catch you guys next time.